Answer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I got a friend who is in the defibrillator business. He's actually one of the leading providers for AEDs for the marine industry, Bert Catoni. He's got this company called Cardiac Rescue. And just perusing some of the data here, a sudden cardiac arrest, SCA, sudden cardiac arrest, the most preventable cause of death in the country.
Really?
And this number surprised me. Sudden cardiac arrest kills more than 400,000 people in the United States each year. It can strike anyone, anywhere, anytime, in most cases without warning. Without treatment, victims only have minutes to live. With quick response, the condition is readily treatable with survival rates as high as 90%. But when the equipment is not nearby you and you have to rely on emergency services and you've only got minutes, rates are 2 to 5%, survival rates 2 to 5%. So it could be as high as 90% if the equipment's on site and obviously somebody knows how to use it. But if that equipment isn't there, survival rates 2 to 5%. So talking about the literally hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths with this technology. And
that's why Damar Hamlin was saved. I mean, if he was going to have a cardiac arrest, that was the place to be. You had emergency responders right there on the ready and with an AED to revive him not once but twice.
So we wanted to talk a little bit more about that. I mean, with the money we spend on K through 12 education at the collegiate level, there's arguably no reason why this equipment shouldn't be ubiquitous. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Bob Snyder. He is with the Jennifer Lynn Snyder Teen Heart Foundation. Jennifer Lynn Snyder Teen Heart Foundation. Bob Snyder, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Very good, guys. Good to be with you.
So tell us what your interest, what your foundation does, I should say, and how you came to be focused on this issue.
Yeah, so the foundation is focused very simply on putting the AEDs that you talk about being ubiquitous to make sure they're on fields where kids are playing. I think as a society, been great improvement, and in some cases it's the law to have them in gymnasiums and other indoor facilities where kids play, but it's outdoors where it's lacking. So that's the focus of the foundation. It has been the focus of the foundation for the better part of 15 years now, since we lost our daughter, Jenny, while she was playing soccer on a field in Glenview. And while you never know, and your statistics back that up, you never know exactly what could have happened or would have happened, certainly her chance for survival, had there been an AED there, would have been, much greater.
And since that time, how much money have you raised and how many AEDs have you put on soccer fields, football fields, lacrosse fields?
Yeah, there are close to 30 of them now around the Chicago area. And that's where, most of our focus has been. All of the money that gets raised turns into grants. And so folks can just go to our website if they're aware of a field, maybe where their child plays at, and says, well, there really should be an AED here. There are hundreds of kids who play here each week. And so there's an application process. It's of course free. And we use the money that we raise to grant AEDs for those fields that need one.
And, we've seen some incidents like what happened with Damar Hamlin, what happened with Hank Gathers, that sort of focus people's attention on this issue, because to see somebody collapse like that is obviously jarring. I wonder if you think that, the good that will come out of the nation being fixated on what happened to Damar Hamlin is there will be a sort of renewed conversation for it, and that we've got a window here. Renewed conversation about this and things that can be done to make sure that you can provide as much safety for young people as possible when they're engaged in athletic activities.
Yeah, Dan, the answer is a definitive yes. So it's really great that there was what's called in the industry a save involved, and we're not talking about a death and a what if. This is where, as Amy said, everything went right. I will add, Dan, you said you had thrown in that to have access to one and then knowing how to use it. The great thing about these devices now is really a second or third grader can open the cabinet, open the device, and it walks you through what to do. So, fortunately, no longer are manufacturers like your friend. I'm sure he can attest to this. We're all trying to get away from that language across the cabinets that says, for emergency only, official this and official that. That doesn't help anyone. The truth is they're there to be used in many cases like a fire extinguisher. Open the cabinet and use it. And in this case, if you've got something talking to you and walking you through every step, it's not only helpful, but it's very common.
Well, that's good to know that you don't need to know CPR. You don't need to have any particular training it's that accessible. That is good to know.
And it's in foreign language, so you can press a button for Spanish if you're Spanish speaking. I mean, it's so easy. I went to Jenny's Mission. I went to your fundraiser in the spring, and you have an AED there and a dummy that you could try it out, and it's the best idea ever. I think every coach in Chicago, every parent should go through that process, and you can also get it online on YouTube too. You can learn how to do it.
Yeah, and that's right, Amy. Look, there's a cost with everything, right? And so, Dan, as you talked about, there's a window open to try to make a move. Have the AED industry make a move, and it just depends on how this resonates with the right kind of people. At some point, could there be something like federal legislation for athletic fields, as there, is now for airports and other national facilities? Sure, it will take a lot because of that cost that's involved, but hopefully there are organizations like ours and other folks in state and federal legislatures who see this as kind of a no-brainer and said, well, now we got a glimpse of it on national TV and how it works. We've got to get things out there.
What are we talking about in terms of cost? I mean, there's only so many sports fields that most of these schools have, couple three at the most, and so what are we talking about on a per unit or a scaled number?
Yeah, well, when you do it on scale, it's obviously a lot more effective for everybody. But let's just say roughly a couple of $1,000, and that includes of course, in Chicago, many of these units, because they're outdoors, they need to stay heated. So there needs to be an electrical component. So typically they're attached to maybe like the outside of the clubhouse or sometimes on a little league field. There's a little press box or where bathrooms are, that type of thing. So depending on the heated cabinet, it can get a little bit more expensive. But I think you're implying that it's really nothing's too expensive for what we're talking about. And so, hopefully over the next few years, without more grave incidents, and they don't always end up well. Hank Gathers didn't end up well. Reggie Lewis didn't end up well. Right. And so hopefully, some of this will take place. Hey, one other thing that I think is kind of neat that's happening in the industry is the technology, of course, is affecting every industry and every business. There's technology now where if you're somewhere, anywhere, and you need an AED, you can get into an app and find where the closest AED is. There's also AEDs on drones where you can program in and a drone can deliver an AED. Now, this is I'm talking about stuff that's kind of coming, but it's these are the advances that are happening, and when the end result is saving a life, it all kind of makes sense.
Now, Dan knows this. I love to tell people how to spend their money, and Damar Hamlin's fundraiser is up to $8.6 million. Have you reached out to him or his people to see if they would donate those funds to put more AEDs on athletic fields and
well,
gyms.
I'm not one to challenge other charities. I'm sure he's got a kids some kind of kids gifting charity. But I will say this, look, I'm extraordinarily happy for DeMar. I mean, that's great. I do think, and maybe this is a little jaded coming from where I'm coming from as a parent who somebody lost a child. But, as I watch all of this unfold, what I really recognize is while it's great that DeMar had the resilience to stay alive, the real courage and the real heroism are the people who saved his lives, used the AED, performed the CPR, knew the CPR. And so that at least I know there's a sector of all of us that see a situation like this and say, okay, wonderful for the survivor, but even better for those who saved the person.
Yeah, the lowest paid people on the field that night were the first responders.
Yes, Amy, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true.
He is Bob Snyder, dad of Jennifer Lynn Snyder, after whom the foundation is named, Jennifer Lynn Snyder Teen Heart Foundation. Bob Snyder, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome, guys.
Yep, thank you so much. And again, teenheartfoundation.org is where you can go to apply to get an AED on one of your fields or to make a donation. And Bob Snyder joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here. And if you're a small business owner or make the marketing or advertising decisions for your business, then listen up.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering because of food insecurity. They simply don't know where they will find their next meal.
Here's how your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air right here on